artists, my name is Nicole Watson and I am a mixed media artist living in the Austin, Texas area, and I am excited to share a project today with you using the Grafix Mixed Media Journal and a couple other of their wonderful products. As you just saw, this journal is really cool because you can remove the pages and work on them directly without the journal underneath them. It makes for a great surface to create on. The journal has 6 different substrates for you to get creative on, and today I am using one of the opaque white Dura-Bright pages. If you're not familiar with me and my artwork, a lot of my art is grungy and messy, and I often start with a ledger page or another type of like handwritten paper or a book page for my first layer. And so I thought I would kind of create my first page in this journal in my Nicole style, seeing how I can create on one of these really neat Dura-Bright white pages. The Grafix website is great. It gives you lots of tips and hints and ideas of exactly what type of mediums these different types of pages will take. And so I thought I'd start off with this easiest page, maybe the normal white page, to kind of break the journal, so to speak. I haven't used one of these Grafix journals before, and so I thought I'd start off with one of the easier pages first. So I'm just using some matte medium and a ledger sheet on top of the page and securing it as best as I can. I didn't do the perfect job of adding matte medium to the back, so I'm trying to kind of fix that and made some mistakes along the way. But oftentimes some of my mistakes turn out to be really happy accidents, and they end up working out in the end. I noticed that my matte medium kind of left a residue on the page, and so I thought I would just add the matte medium all over the page so that I would be working on the same type of surface. Now, this isn't something you have to do. It was just more for me to kind of test this surface out in my kind of, Nicole way of creating, and just see how it works with my typical process. So far, I am really enjoying not having to gesso the page first. I really like the smooth surface, and the matte medium seems to work perfectly on it, just like I love to do in a traditional journal. While I wait for that matte medium to fully dry, I'm grabbing some of the Grafix matte stencil film to create my own stencil. You can use this film with like an X-Acto knife and any other kind of like die cutting or punching machine. And honestly, I didn't have any of those handy, so I thought that I would just use my Crop-A-Dile and punch some holes in it to create a really simple stencil. I just used a paper trimmer, some scissors to kind of trim this down to size, and now I'm just punching 2 sizes of holes from my Crop-A-Dile in this stencil film. Easy peasy. I have a plan in mind for how I'm going to not only use the stencil to stencil with, but also in my collage, which you probably saw in my preview photo. My journaling style is kind of just go with the flow, don't always measure stuff, so I kind of regretted making the stencil a little too big. You saw that I trimmed it down with my scissors, now it's kind of crooked, so I'm going to grab out that paper trimmer and just even out my sides a little bit because of my plans to actually use this stencil as well on my journal page, not just for a stencil. I wanted it to look good. Have that stencil perfect, or as perfect as I want it to be, and my matte medium is just about dry. I'm going to start my next process of adding some gesso to the page. One of my steps that I often do when I'm creating a journal page or any other kind of mixed media art is I like to embed my first layer more into the journal. so that those edges don't look like it's just paper on the page, I'm adding some gesso around the edges on top of the paper to start my first layers of kind of my grungy look in art journaling. My gesso isn't going as smoothly as normal because my matte medium isn't as dry as I would like, so I grabbed my hairdryer in the cool setting to just continue to dry it. I did find that my matte medium didn't dry as quickly on this opaque white Durabrite plastic as compared to a normal journal page, but no problem, the hairdryer solved that, and now I'm just using the gesso around the rest of the page. You can see how this is really pushing that ledger page into the journal page, so it doesn't look like I just slapped some paper down on the page. And I'm just kind of going back and forth, adding gesso, adding some, more paper, trying to figure out what I want to do next. And I decided to pick up some golden Titan green pale in the heavy body version to add some color to my page and continue that embedding process. This white Durabrite craft plastic, the opaque white, took this paint perfectly. I ended up using it like at full strength, and also you can see I'm going to water it down a little bit to kind of spread it on the journal page. I wanted to keep some white space, but I also wanted to continue to push that ledger page into the back and to create my first layer here that I'm going to end up creating on top of. I really like how smooth this heavy body paint is going on the page. I'm loving the look that it's creating, so I'm going to just continue to kind of refine the background, add some watery parts, kind of splatter it on, and just create the perfect first layer for the next layers that I'm going to add to the page. I used a hairdryer again on the cool setting to help kind of dry that or speed along the drying process. Next, I grabbed my Payne's Gray and the Golden So Flat, this foam applicator, and I'm going to use my stencil. But first, before I use it on my page, I just grabbed a scrap paper to kind of test it out to make sure that it was going to work how I wanted, kind of so I could know the amount of pressure to, add with the paint through those holes, just to make sure that I kind of, made the stencil right, and I got used to this, the substrate of the stencil and how hard to push and all of those technical details. I loved how it looks, so now I'm just adding it slowly to my page. I'm going to add it on that top left, allow it to dry just a tiny bit, and then continue my Nicole grungy process. Before my paint completely dries, I like to kind of, as I call it, scruff up the paint. I didn't again know how this new substrate that I was using would take my watered down paint and my normal process here. I do have that matte medium in the background, so it could be helping a little bit, but I'm just kind of distressing my dots, and once I got that exactly how I wanted, now I'm going to add some more of those dots on the right side of the page and continue that exact same process. When I have a little like over stenciling there, I just use some water and kind of make it a little bit more grungy, and adding some of that light Payne's Gray and then also my scruffed up dots. I'm going to continue the process down the page with my little homemade stencil until I get the look that I want. I'm going to pick up my hairdryer again in a bit on that cool setting to kind of speed along the drying process, but also to move that watery paint around my page. I'm also going to tip the page just to add a few more little drips. Now that my page is dry, I picked up my Stabilo Alls in the graphite and the black version. I'm going to trace around these spots, dots, polka dots that I made on the page. I like to add a little bit more to my stenciling sometimes, so it doesn't just look like it's floating on the page. And one way I like to do that is by tracing around whatever I've stenciled. So first I use the graphite, and then after that I'm going to pick up the black, and then I'll activate it just a little bit with water to add to that grungy look in my background. So my idea on this journal page was not only to use my stencil as a stencil, but also use it as a layer in my focal point or the little bit of collage that I'm going to create. Well, I couldn't use the stencil how it is because it looks kind of funny from my painting, you know, my sponge on top of it. So now I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. Do I want to kind of create an ombre look to the paint? Do I want to just make it solid Payne's gray? I'm using my fingernail here to see if I can kind of scrape away the paint to create some maybe like graffiti look into it. I'm just really simply playing. In the end, I decided to just paint over it all with the applicator and make it just a solid Payne's gray. I did flip it over a couple times because I really liked the gray look that the back side of the stencil made, but in the end I decided to keep the Payne's gray forward. While I wait for that stencil to dry so I can use it, I'm going to add another layer of mark making interest to my journal page with this Tim Holtz stencil. First I decided to put it on the block, and then I thought it would be easier just to use it without the block. I'm just going to add it in the spots or the areas that I made the spots, just to add kind of a bridge between that background layer of that ledger page and my Titan Green Pale and my polka dots, just to kind of bring it all together, adding another mark. In this case, it's like the numbers stencil. It's a little bit different interest, but it kind of like brings all of my layers together. Next, I want to age my page just a little bit, kind of add some warmth to it and a little bit more interest. So I picked up this Daniel Smith walnut ink, another one of my usual products I like to use. It's fun to see how it pools and puddles on this new substrate that I'm using, and it works perfectly. You can see as I add it to the page, it's just adding just another layer of grunge and kind of warming up the page a little bit, adding another kind of bridge between all that's going on my journal page. I'm also going to splatter some dirty paint water on this page and some the walnut ink splatters, and just kind of continue the aging process and the grungy process to create an interesting background that I'm going to collage on top. For the walnut ink and the splatters, I don't like to rush the drying process, so I'm going to set this journal page aside for a little bit, allow it to dry on its own, and come back and work on the collage or the focal point on the front. Earlier in the week, I'd spent some time watercoloring some of these leaves from one of my stencils with Stencil Girl and thought it would be a fun focal point to add to this journal page. So I'm just going to cut it out and begin the process of tying it together with my stencil and a photo and some other like ephemera I find along the way. So now I'm just kind of playing with what I have on the page. I'm adding this little saying. I'm seeing if I want to add some more ephemera to the top of it and just kind of decide which direction I want to go with my little collage. I decided not to add that ephemera on top because I loved the photo just how it is and I didn't want to take away from it. Now it's time to stick all my collage down onto the journal page, and I grabbed this Artist-Tac to use on the stencil, the photo, and my leaves. I knew this Artist-Tac would be perfect for especially the stencil because it's little dots, and so I knew that it wouldn't stick in my holes of my stencil. It would be the perfect way to adhere it to the page. I wouldn't have to worry about like matte medium getting all up into those holes and looking funny, and I wanted my stencil to be on the exact same spot, so I just made a couple little lines to make sure I got it down on the page. Now I'm going to stick it down onto the Artist-Tac, smooth it out, pull it up, and stick it so easily on my journal page. You can see when I pull it up here, the cute little dots that it leaves on this stencil and why it's such a perfect adhesive to use on the back of the stencil to stick on my page so effortlessly. I also was able to reposition it a couple times because I kind of got it on there a little crooked, which was great. It worked really easily to do that, and when I was done, I stuck it down very solidly to my page, and I'm going to continue the same process with my leaves and that photo. I'm going to really carefully peel my leaves off of the back of this Artist-Tac, not because of the Artist-Tac, but because my leaves are on a ledger page, which is really delicate. The photo was easy to peel off, but I'm going to be a lot more careful when I peel off these leaves. One thing I do want to mention, I haven't used this Artist-Tac before. It did get a little bit of the adhesive on top my photo that I couldn't get off, mainly probably because my photo is really glossy. So in the future, I probably won't smooth out the Artist-Tac on top, flip the page over and smooth it on top of the photo. I'll probably put something in between it and that top layer, only because it did get a couple little polka dots on my photo. It's totally fine. It doesn't bother me in the end, but I just wanted to let you know that that happened. Now I'm going to add the leaf down and kind of like measure where I want it with this little saying that I'm also going to add to the page. Normally my go-to adhesive is matte medium or a gel medium for heavier paper, but I really enjoyed using this Artist-Tac, especially on that stencil and my more delicate leaves that I had watercolored here. I liked that it was a dry medium and not a wet medium, and so everything really adhered strong and smooth to my page. Then I decided I wanted to add just a little bit more texture to my page, so I grabbed some of the string. I have no idea where I got it, what kind of string it is, but I thought I would add just a little bit more, like something for the eye, a little bit more texture. I'm going to put it behind my little saying that I'm adding to the page, and I'm going to stick it down with a piece of the double tack mounting film. I'm going to show it to you just in a little bit. Normally I would have used something like matte medium to do this with, which again is wet and it's a little hard to work with, but I decided to cut just a little bit of the mounting film off, stick it on my page. Here it is, the double tack mounting film, and stick it on my page, and then I'm going to stick the string directly on top of it. And I really was able to manipulate the string. Once I did that, I could pick some of it off, put it back down, kind of shape how I wanted it. It was the perfect adhesive to use for this. Next, I'm going to stick down my little cardboard saying, and because I had pulled the back off of it, the back of my cardboard saying is, I don't know the right word, it's more spongy. It peels away a lot easier because there isn't a solid surface back there, and so I had to use the matte medium on the back of that instead of one of the adhesives that I've been using from Grafix, but that's okay. It worked perfectly, the matte medium. I like to also put matte medium on top of it to kind of seal it to the page because I'm going to add some paint on top of it as well. And then I'm just going to finish up the page. I want to embed that photo into my page a little bit more so it looks like it belongs. So I'm adding just a few little stamps to it. And then I'm going to pick up my paintbrush and some of that Payne's Gray and just add a little bit of color to the top of the photo and on top my little saying. And that's it. I really enjoyed creating on top of this page from the Grafix Mixed Media Journal, using the stencil to create a stencil, and I also used the actual stencil on my page. The dry adhesives were perfect. I hope you enjoyed watching this. I hope this encourages you to maybe try out this journal. It's a lot of fun to use, and I look forward to trying out some of the other types of substrates inside the journal as well. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to pop this journal page back into my journal so easily. All of the links, information, supplies, everything you need to know are in the description box below. I hope you have a wonderful day and happy art journaling.